Welcome back to the channel. Just a minute ago you saw me cruising around on a golf cart. I pointed out a big hard maple tree that unfortunately had the top broken off in a recent windstorm. Well, I'm going to get even because I'm a little bit bitter with that tree. I'm going to cut that sucker right to the ground anytime now. That'll be over at the sawmill, but that'll be for another day. Today I'm going to talk about something that I first introduced on the channel probably just over a year ago, and what that is a log peeling disc. Now it attaches to my grinder, and if we reach over my shoulder here, you'll see it back there along with my other junk. Now I'm going to give you a bit of an update on how that's been going, but just in case you missed it way back when, this building here on my left, I called it Chop Shop, was one of the first projects I used that log peeling disc on to peel all the bark off those red pine logs. And if we look here, without counting, we can tell there's quite a number of them. Well, that log peeling disc has not been sharpened since that time. I got the disc right around the time I built this structure. I haven't sharpened it since. And so we're going to see what it does after going through all that material with some hardwood logs. I know at the time many of you asked me, how does it do with X species, Y species, and every other tree species? And I couldn't give you an answer because I don't have those trees available to me, or I didn't have them at least at the time. Well, today I've got a few other species I'm going to show you how it works on, and that's in addition to the red pine that you've seen before. Now, I would encourage you to go back and see this build. It was a fun one for me. This was my very first attempt building with logs. This is a very, well, we'll head in here. This is a very simple butt and pass style log building. And I'm just looking at my friendly wasp nest up there. Nothing's gonna get me. Butt and pass method. One log butts into another log that passes. Very simple to build. And basically what I did to speed up the process here without any scribing, I took each log to the sawmill and I flattened the top and the bottom so that it rested on top of each other. At some excuse me, at some point, probably not this, excuse me. At some point, I'm going to come back in here and I probably will add some chinking in between the logs to button things up a little bit. I'm not too sure yet. You can see the gaps there. But for now, it's going to sit as it is. I'll continue to let the logs dry, because these logs were green, freshly cut down when I put them up here. Now the purpose of this structure, if you're not familiar, was to house the Easton Made Ultra, my wood splitter that I had prior to this one. And well, things had changed and the Easton Made Axis came along. This does not go in here very easily. And so this building has pretty much been designated for equipment storage. I park a utility trailer over here in the winter, and over here I park various other things. Sometimes lumber, sometimes equipment. Sometimes not much at all. But this had a good workout with the log peeling disc, as you can see there. We're going to head out to the sawmill where I've got some other logs, and we're going to see how it's working today, a year or so after I first got it, and then we'll test it out on some hardwood. Anyways, I'm going to put the foot to the rug, as they say, and head on out. Glad you're here. Here we go. And here we are. Some days I'm like, heck with cutting wood, I'm gonna just drive this thing around. This thing's been doctored up by someone long before I got it, and it certainly goes faster than golf carts I remember on a golf course. Anyways, here we are. We have had quite a bit of rain, so if you were looking at the trails as we were cruising out here, things are really muddy, and unfortunately, that makes for one heck of a ride when you're on something like a golf cart, but it's a lot of fun. Now, you'll also notice just before we get going here, the lumber pile is down a few notches. Well, that's for good reason. I've got a project coming up that I've been working on that I think you're going to enjoy. And this project's a little bit out of the ordinary for me. It does involve swinging a hammer, you know, cutting and all that sort of thing, building. But it is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing here. So the tree species we're going to tackle today include black cherry in the back there, red oak, and then we have some hard maple. We'll throw those hardwoods up onto the sawmill in just a minute. We'll get the peeling disc out and we'll give it a go. We'll also throw in some red pine just so we can compare the two, softwood versus hardwood. If you see my previous videos, you know exactly how well that peeling disc does with the red pine, and so we'll compare the two. And well, just in case you've got hardwood like that and you want to know what happens, you'll get to see that firsthand here today. Just in case you haven't seen it, that right there is the log peeling disc setup. There's a 9-inch angle grinder attached to the disc itself. The disc is 8 inches in diameter. We have 3 blades along the bottom. obviously it spins around and it removes all the bark. Now these blades stick out just below the bottom of that disc, and that's what allows the blades to dig in. Now I have not had to take those blades off at all, and I know that may seem hard to believe, but it's the truth. I got the disc exactly as it sits. I haven't taken the blades off once. I did the entire debarking of those logs on the chop shop, and here it is here. So we're going to continue on with the same stock blades, same stock edge, and you'll see exactly what I see here today. Now, if the time comes, when the time comes, and you do need to sharpen these blades, you see on the other side here, you can remove the blades, take it over to your bench grinder, touch the edge up that way. Now, the 9-inch angle grinder that I was talking about, this one I have is made by Makita. Any other angle grinder I'm sure would work, but that's the one I have. I like it because it's 15 amps, tons of power, nice handle on the back and the side. So we're going to get this thing going here today, and how we're going to power that, because we're way out in the woods, is not with an electrical outlet, because I don't have any, although I wish I did. I'm going to use that thing, Bluetti. This Bluetti is brand new, in fact, and well, Bluetti's been a really big supporter of my channel for a long time. Ever since they saw me struggling with my old gas powered generator, they've been gracious enough to help me out with one of their power sources. This is their brand new model. I'm going to try it out for the very first time today. That's the AC200L. Very similar to the first model that I've used with success in the past. And that way, I think this will work equally as well. So just in case you're not familiar with these units, this is the AC200L, the new model by Bluetti, as I mentioned. This thing you turn on, and then it gives you the status of it. So it's at 100% charged. Now it's up to you to determine what you're going to power with it. And for me, I'm often using these outlets. So there's 4 of them. And those work with most of my tools that I have. The odd time, depending on what I'm doing, I am looking for a bit more power. So when I'm going camping, as an example, and I want to plug in an RV, I can use that thing. We make our way over here. We also have some plugs you may not be familiar with. But plugs like that, they allow you to expand this power source. So if you wanted more power than what this offers, like you're going on a camping trip, you're boondocking with an RV, I will take an additional power source that plugs into it called an expansion pack. Now that's what this is for. This allows for this to plug into the expansion pack and give you more power than what you're going to get out of this unit alone. Now some of these other plugs, like this one down here, where that plugs in, that's going to allow you to charge the unit. Now you can charge the unit by plugging it in at home. You can also charge it in a car, which I often do. So if I'm on a long trip and I'm not going to be near an outlet for a while, I'll plug it into the vehicle while I'm driving, and that way that will get charged that way. You can also charge that unit, the Bluetti, with solar panels, and in previous videos you may have seen me do that as well. And so that makes it very handy having those different options to charge this unit. And as I said before, if you're out boondocking, you're out camping, which I often am, you're looking for power if your campsite doesn't have it, and that's where I use this thing an awful lot. Just a few other outlets I skipped over here. Here's USB-C, typical with computers, cell phone chargers potentially, another USB-C, USB-A there in the middle. Over here, 12-volt DC output, right? And then we have down here our 48-volt/8 amp output. Now if we have a look here, AC input, AC output, DC input, DC output. When I plug something in, which I'm going to in a minute, you more or less plug it in where it goes. And this is going to be for the log peeling disc, and then I can hit AC. That's going to illuminate, and then in just a minute you're going to see the number of watts that that particular appliance, in my case tool, is using. And that'll also change, the percentage will change as we're using things. Anyways, without further ado, let's get suited up. Now that we have power, we'll get the log peeling disc in action. We'll see exactly what happens here with this red oak round versus the black cherry versus the, well, hard maple. Here we go. All right, one thing I can say here, it's got some weight to it. The red oak, the bark is definitely tougher than the red pine by a lot. But once you get through it, then it's easy going. But the hard part is just working away at the bark. Once that bark's gone, you're down to some good wood that really flies off there. Anyways, that's the red oak. Let's see what we got next. It looks like the cherry is ready to go. We'll get the black cherry up here. Well, I think it's safe to say the hardwoods come off just as well as the softwoods, although it does take a bit more time. The bark appears to be on there a little bit better than the softwoods. Now, getting through this first layer of bark takes the most amount of time. When you first get the log up there, you're trying to get through to this layer. Once you're down to this layer, I just follow that leading edge, and then it peels off the rest very quickly, as you can tell by all the chips. One thing I like about the peeling disc, as you can see here, it leaves a nice texture. There's no gouges. If you wanted to smooth out some high spots, you can go back through and do that. Anyways, the last one we're going to do is the red pine. And the red pine is quite a bit different than these hardwoods, as you'll see. Well, the proof is right there, as you can tell. The red pine comes off in a hurry. Probably one of the reasons that I don't mind debarking it with that peeling disc. It doesn't take long at all. Comparatively though, you could do all these logs without trouble. Some of the hardwoods are just going to take a little bit longer, as I said, to get through the bark initially. Once you get down to this layer on all the wood, it goes pretty quickly. So that right there is my update on my log peeling disc. If you have any questions about it, be sure to put it down below. Maybe you have one of these or you've used something similar. I'd be happy to hear more about it. I think at some point in the future, and I know many of you have mentioned this to me, I'm going to try that log peeling disc to work with that sawmill as a bit of a debarker prior to sawing. That'll be for another day. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. If you haven't done so already, make sure to check out my new social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, take care, be well. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you next time. Oh, we better not leave without checking the percentage. Where are we at? 89%. There we go.